Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the 14th International Documentary and Short Film Festival of Kerala, organized by the Kerala State Chalachitra Academy. Now we begin the session. Shaji in conversation with Kamal KM. I invite Shaji, Deputy Director Festivals, and Kamal KM, fiction jury member and renowned writer and director, onto the stage to begin the session.
Welcome everybody. With us is director, filmmaker Kamal KM. He is, immediately known to all of you as the director of the film which was released in this year, Pada, which was in theaters and had gathered, critical and commercial success. He's he's attending here in capacity as the jury member of IDSFFK fiction jury, and he has been part of IFFK and IDSFFK in different roles. As a participating director, as delegate, selection committee member, in different roles he has been associated with the festival. And I thank you and welcome Kamal for finding time to spend with us during this busy schedule of decision making, selecting films. Welcome, Kamal.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. It's great feeling to come back every year to IFFK, IDSFFK, meeting a lot of people, friends, fellow filmmakers. So I'm happy again uh, back here. So yeah.
Perhaps we could start with the last of his work, like Pada, which was immediately in our minds. He's making a film. His first film came in 2012, right? So after a decade came the second film, and that film was based on an event which happened about quarter of a century ago. It's about the fight by uh, by an organization representing the tribals against the denial of rights to land rights to them. So, what prompted you to this? Typical cliche question to start a session, but we have to depend on that to start this conversation. Like how you chose that subject at these current times, how it was so relevant. You felt you must have felt that it is relevant to the to make a film at this year, I think, of these recent times.
Yeah.
So, what could be that?
So basically, like for every film, I would say there is a journey behind it. Uh, because one thing we constantly do is writing new ideas, developing it as a script. In that process itself, like we feel maybe after few weeks, after few months, like this script, this idea is not holding to my present day anxieties or my present day feelings. So most of the time you uh, put aside the same script, and like you have the tendency to think a better script or a better script that like addresses your personal feelings first of all. So id also pada also occurred in that fashion only when I was writing a different script, when I was preparing actually for a different script, the previous script I was writing had a mention of Ayangali, the organization who did this political action in Palakkad 1996. So uh, we thought about that action, and like of course that political action had its own drama. So for me that script was more close to my heart at that point of time. Then I thought about like why this film, because right now if you uh, think about the current political scenario in our nation, dissent become uh, a very dangerous word uh, to the present situation. So uh, dissent was the point where like we angered when we thought about the script, because like I just thought about only one fact. Suppose if this incident had happened in 2022, what would have happened? After after 25 years of its uh, how the governments have changed, how their approach to civil disobedience or civil protests have changed, and how they are penalizing dissent all across our nation. Like it's not just in college campuses, it is everywhere. Like you know that there are some 8 people who are uh, uh, convicted in Bhima Goragaon case, right? Yeah, and like they are still inside jail, and like for what? That is what like we are surprised about. Like because if we take the personal uh, uh, account or the personal history of all these people who inside the jail, they are actually, they deserve Padma Shri or Padma Bhushan, that kind of. So they have done that kind of work, and they are inside the jail for some, yeah, 3 4 years for some whatever they have crafted that as evidence. Or and like we are discussing, the media is challenging all these evidences, Pegasus report, all those things, you know. So actually we thought that like dissent is what makes us uh, uh, this film actually. So that was the first point like that we started from.
So this film Pada and your earlier work ID that came in 2012. So both films talking about people on the margins, like their identity, finding ways to searching for their real identity, their migrations, displacements. So of course there is we are not trying to connect it, but is there a continued concern of the people on the margins to bring their stories or tell their stories, when you think about, especially since you are a writer also, you are not depending on others writings to make your films. So can you elaborate on that, like?
Basically, like again, like everything, the script ideas to whatever we create comes from our orientation also, the kind of experiences, the kind of knowledge, the kind of aesthetics we have gathered uh, in our journey, in our life. So always this question of justice has uh, like evoked many strong questions in me as a human being, as a an artist. So again, like I would say, like when we are working on different script, some scripts happens like out of coincidence, like with connecting with your personal experience, like it will hit you more. That's where like id, it was a very small story. It was the story of 3 days in a life of a girl who looks for a job in Mumbai. So that was again from the experience of one of my close friend that we developed that script. Eventually, the film, even though it was about a girl and her life over the 3 days, it became the film on a metropolis like Mumbai. So it talked about the marginalization that is happening there. It talks about the displacement. It talks about the migration and displacement. Yeah. So every idea that we work on, like, or I work on, like, I found that, like, yes, it had a political edge to it, because that is my bringing up also. Because, like, I was brought up in a very uh, uh, like, I would say, in a very political oriented family, uh, where
Father
like,
was a communist activist.
yeah, my father was a communist activist, and, like, from my childhood, what I have seen is the people who comes or whom I meet with my father, the kind of dedication they had, the kind of work they did was always at dismay in a different level. Because my family always thought that, like, it's why my father is getting into unnecessary things, like spoiling his life, dedicating his life to people, all those things. So it actually worried me in my childhood also, like, yes, because, like, you don't have anything to eat at your house, and, like, your dad is still a very prestigious, respectable person. So what is the meaning of all these things? That is what, like, I figured out from my childhood. So when you understand the value of a public life, when you understand the importance of doing something for the benefit of others also, it gives you, it frees you in a very in a great way, I would say. Like, it expands our orientation, it expands our vision, it expands our work that we do. So that is why, so the political edge is always there, and I would say it's my orientation, it's my life, that is where I draw from. So ID had, like, I would say, like, even before ID, when I was studying in my film school FTA, when I was a student, my friends used to laugh at me for being so political, and they would tell me, "Oh, he is the last man standing." All those funny, like. Visheshanangal, I would say, I would hear, but, like, I always uh, like, whenever I wanted to, like, I also wanted to write a love story, I also wanted to write an action film, everything. But, like, whatever, when I sit on my table to write a script, there is nothing but, like, all these things that worries me, that makes me anxious, comes first. So that is how I, like, and like, from my student days also. Yesterday I was talking to Reena Mohan. I told her, when I was in FTA in 2003, like, when I made a documentary film as part of my academic exercise. We have a documentary film project in our second year in FTA. So that time again I had a script to make a documentary film. During that time, Gujarat riot happened. So the repercussions of the riot was still on in the air. Particularly Maharashtra was close to Gujarat. So there were, like, a lot of migration happening. People leaving from Gujarat who came to Pune. So as I like approached the dates of my project, like, suddenly I went to my head of department. I told him that, like, I'm not doing this script, like, I am doing something else. Then he asked me for the script. I wrote something that came on my mind, even though I was, because I thought, I knew that, like, it's again a journey that I had to start. So I made that film, and that year that film was banned. And it's a student film. And, like, why it was banned? Because that year Mumbai International Film Festival, which is equivalent to IDSFFK, uh, formed a new rule that all the films that comes to the festival should be censored. So that was, I would say that was the first time even a student films were like censored that time. So when my film entered into the censor board viewing, like I didn't know what was the reason. They said that like it shouldn't be shown anywhere in India because this is banned and all those these. So I was again very disappointed, and I approached my HOD. Look, they have banned the student film, so we have to do something. So then he told me, no, you know one thing, Censor Board of India is a government institution. Film and television is of also a government institution, so we can't like really challenge one another organization. So this case is over here. That is what like he told me. Anyway, the film left there like that. We could show the film like secretly in Kerala, in many places. We have shown, many film societies or activists had taken that copy and they have shown it. But like that was the kind of experience. So you get a kind of spirit to challenge or push this limit further, and that is what like we all do. Like when we gather a certain kind of spirit like that, then you try to push it further. So that is what happened in ID also. Like ID again, when it came to censor board, like it's a small film, and like the film was not shown any festival. And but like to apply for Indian Panorama, we had to get the censor certificate. So I applied for the censor certificate in Bombay. So once after the censor board watches the film, they will call you for the review and like their reaction. So what they told me was like outrightly they told me on my face that like the your film is very good, but like it's uh, defacing India's what do you say, prestige. It is actually like what do you say, like അത് ഇന്ത്യയുടെ മുഖം അത് വളരെ നല്ല രീതിയിലല്ല നിങ്ങൾ കാണിക്കുന്നത് എന്നൊക്കെ പറഞ്ഞ് ലൈക്ക് ദേ സ്റ്റാർട്ടഡ് ആർഗ്യൂയിങ് വിത്ത് മീ. ആൻഡ് ദ സെൻസർ ഏജന്റ് ഹു വാസ് വിത്ത് മീ വാസ് എ വെരി വെരി ഓൾഡ് പേഴ്സൺ. ദെൻ ഹി ഹോൾഡ് മൈ ഹാൻഡ് ആൻഡ് ഹി told me not to reply to them. So let's see what they are going to do. So then they gave me a certificate. So I again wondered why they are giving me a certificate, because when you get an A certificate, you have some difficulties. Like if you want to show the film in television or somewhere, like you have to re-edit it according to the censor boards. So it's like again work. Again work means again you have to spend money. You know that like the way we all make films, like we may not have money, we may not have enough resources. So whatever we repeat will incur additional expenses. So I was really worried, and I knew that it is like a revenge that they take against a filmmaker. So like then yeah, so I accepted it, and luckily I didn't have to release that film in theater or in television. But like as Netflix was entering to India during that time, 2013-14, like they bought the film, and like luckily we could show the film in OTT platforms. So so I'm like so this is the kind of journey I had.
So things are much clearer now, like without uh, how these thoughts for these films, his ideas for films, where they are generated is, I mean, Kamal has explained, like from his childhood to college days. So what was your, I mean, you are born into a village, and like what attracted you to films? How do you decide that my area of expression is will be films? At what point you arrived at that?
Yeah, and for this, like I would say, everybody will
Yes.
have their own story of a cinema paradiso.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I also have my story of cinema paradiso, where there was a film theater next to my house. So my mother remembers that when I started walking, I used to jump over the small wall that separate the film theater's compound and my house, and I will go inside the theater. And I used to watch all kinds of film as a child. Even I have ended the theater when they were showing a morning show, semi-porn films. I have ended, and like the doorkeeper who got afraid, and like he told me, no, 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 you can't go now inside. So I will show you the film which is showing in the evening. So all then I was very curious, and I went on the other side of the theater, and I started why they are like not allowing me to enter, because I'm like they never stop me from entering the theater. So then what I saw from the other door was like I couldn't believe it, and I was trying to figure out what is this. Then I came back, and there was a gang of children, like my friends, who were waiting for me to get, because they don't have the permission to go inside the theater. So I only have the privilege to go inside the theater as I am the neighbor. So I went back and I briefed them. This is what I saw. Then they took me inside. No, no, you have to be you shouldn't go there. It's like some porn film or something. So all those memories I have got, and during my college days, again like Doordarshan was getting popularized in every villages everywhere in India, I would say, in Kerala also. So they started showing many important films that were selected in Indian Panorama, that was playing at that time. Like I remember, like I have watched films that were shown in IFFI, broadcasted in Doordarshan at that time, selected few films. So, engaging with cinema, world cinema, during my college days also helped me. And I would say the film society movement in Kerala had great influence on me, because the film societies all over Kerala had a different spirit to show world cinema and discuss and bring up younger generation to watch more meaningful cinema. So the film society in my village, Kodamangalam Film Society, Sumangala Film Society, when I was in my pre-degree time, degree time, they used to show 35 print of all the world cinema, contemporary world cinema. They used to come to our village as a package. Sometimes Cuban films, sometimes German films, sometimes French newer films. All these films I started with the help of subtitles. Then I started reading about it slowly. Like you develop a kind of an urge to create something. That's a time you don't know whether you will become a filmmaker or not, but like one thing you know is like writing. So I started writing scripts, small scripts. And by the time my two of my friends, three of my friends were in film institute, Rajiv Ravi, Madhu Neelakandan, B Ajit Kumar, they were in film institute. So I thought that like, okay, they are studying in film institute, when they come out we are going to make a film. So when they came out, like they just vanished. So I was again worried and sad. Oh no, like we are not going to make any films. They are busy in their own world. So then I thought that I will also go to FTA and study. So that's how I applied FTA when I was like, by the time I had finished my PG in journalism, and I was working for the last 2 years as a journalist in Cochin and Thrissur. Then I applied FTA. I joined there, and again FTA also helped me in a great way, because there was no teaching happening there at that time, because students were all free. Like definitely you will have your basic course in the first year, and second year onwards like you are free. Like there is no like imposition on you to study films. So that is where again like you gather a different energy to study in your own way. with your friends. So that time was great for me. Uh, uh, then again, I always wanted to uh, make mainstream films. Definitely, because the films that gets released on theater has got a different impact, and like you are aspiring for that. So that is why, like, even after FTA, like, I thought that like somehow like I have to enter into mainstream film industry, but like you don't have the courage. Like whatever you hear, you see is like it's like a very feudal hierarchical world where someone can't enter without any what do you say, privileges. Uh, so I was not sure. Like when I was finishing my FTA studies, I was not sure how I will enter to that space. Then I started working in the industry. Luckily, I have met Sandosh Shivan in FTA when I was a student. So he had seen my student project also. So he had a somehow I don't know, only in FTA I would say that people will open up. Like if I would have met Sandosh Shivan somewhere else, definitely he wouldn't have opened up to me like a student being in that campus. So he told me like whatever help you need, you tell me, like whenever you make a film or something. So that discussion went on, and like he wanted, and he always told me that like you should make your film next. Should be your priority. You can join with me, you can work with me, but like you should work on your script, all these things. Then after working with him again, like you write different script. I might have written like 3 4 scripts, set in Kashmir, set in Mumbai, set in Kerala, all those script, and I am trying to pitch that script and it is not going anywhere. Or you know that like it's like a kind of long journey, long waiting. Like suppose if you have a script, if you want to meet an actor, like to get his appointment in Bombay also will take many months to reach him. So this waiting actually made me think about doing something drastic. So I ventured into every kind of possibilities that came to me. Like whatever student projects that is happening, if they had asked for any kind of mentorship or any kind of coordination or something like that, like I used to go, because I know that like learning never ends. That is why like even when like today I am coming from this regional college of engineering Trivandrum. Like I was conducting a workshop, interdisciplinary workshop with the department of architecture students. So campus is one place like we always love to go back, because we know that like learning never ends. So 2010, I went back to FTA to direct a student acting diploma film. So acting students, most of the time they get the directors from outside the campus with some experience, and to make a film, to even with the students, you may have to spend like 2 3 months there, and or 6 months. So I could afford that time frame at that time. So even though I was not getting paid, I went back to FTA, worked with the student. And that time, like when you make a student film again, it's this, like you don't have any money. But like eventually we ended up making a 66-minute film. It's called Alif, because as it was an academic project in FTA, it was not shown anywhere else. That time, Mumbai International Film, we had a premiere there, the film. So that film actually gave me uh, the confidence to make a film without money, because after making that film, I was very sure that like we can make films without any money if we have people who stand along with the project, with the film, with your idea, with your script, then we can, it's possible. And like immediately by that time we all like friends were tired working in the industry, like in different projects, and we were not thinking about coming together and making a film together. So we urged this discussion, and we friends made a kind of informal platform. It's still an informal platform. It's called Collective Phase One. So Rajiv Ravi, Madhu Nilakandan, Sunil Babu, Ajit Kumar, me, and Rasul Puguti also joined in that group. So we decided that like let's make this film like with resources that we can generate, because as eminent professionals, young professionals in Mumbai film industry, definitely Rajiv also had his own connections, Rasul had his own connection. So we gathered so much resources, including the camera we shot, including the coloring we did with Prasad Lab, the DCP we did with Real Image, all the organizations supported us in this film. So we ended making a feature film like with very less money, like as you all are films makers and activists, like I would like to share, it was like a meager money, like some 12 lakh rupees we might have spent for the entire feature film. And it was like we all were working here and there, so we could gather that much money. So again, we didn't know what to do with this film. We didn't have money for the post production work. So there are some festivals, film festivals, that promote young filmmakers for their first feature films and second feature films. So I applied with Busan International Films for their post production funding. So that is how the programming team in Busan International Film Festival noticed this film ID. So they approached me. No, see, your film looks, it's almost finished. So we are not going to give you the post production fund, but like we want this film for the festival, like as a world premiere. Then again, like when they offered the world premiere in Busan Festival, again we got a different, like we could gather more resource. So like we thought that we may need 5 more lakh, 6 or more lakh to finish this film. So let's find that money and like finish it, because we are assured with a world premiere. So that is how I made that film. So I would say, like in all these process, the I would say the culture I have gathered as an artist was majorly from this collective spirit, the collective spirit, I would say, in a very generic way. Whether it is the film society that I am inspired of, or the friends I met in film festivals or in my film school. So all those things inspired me, and that is what like I would like to share with you all, that like we should, suppose if we have a team, like we don't need to we don't money to make a film. That is what I learned in my life.
Okay, but for the second film, you could find a producer and find known faces who has long experience in film industry. So how could you? I mean, how do you reach to that decision? Like you're saying, I'm not saying it is a contrast, but still you thought about. Obviously, it will help you to reach theater audience. That's
Yeah,
a clear case. But that was the reason you thought about bringing in actors, formal proper actors
yeah.
to the film.
So for this, my second film, Pada, like I teamed up with E4 Entertainment, a very known production company in Malayalam and Tamil. So one of the producers, CV Saradi, actually was with me when we took this decision. Let's think about the possibility of making this event adapt into a screenplay. So I assured him, give me 1 week. let me meet at least one person who is involved with this entire political action. Then I'll tell you if there is any scope to develop it as a script. Even though when we hear it like as a news or from whatever information we have got, it is quite dramatic. It has got a potential to adapt it into a screenplay. So I met the first person, then I told him, yes, it's possible. Like I see the screenplay from this conversation and we can develop it. And in the second sitting, when we sat together, we talked about different areas that we have to concentrate. We talked about the production possibilities also. Then we came to know that it's not going to be a small film. So then he told me, the producer told me, we will make this film in the scale that it deserves. Like you don't have to compromise on anything. So then I said, okay. Then we sat together and we started budgeting the film, and we found that like we are almost touching 10 crores. And like for a script like Pada, we know honestly, we know that like it's not possible to have a film with a budget of 10 crores of a script of this kind. Then, but like we didn't uh, again compromise. Then like what he advised me was, let's integrate all the mainstream actors, because Malayalam cinema is changing and all the mainstream actors are ready to experiment with their career also. So let's integrate few of them. They will be. And like he connected with me to 2 3 actors, and like I met them and they were very happy. Like they didn't have any doubt about the script or about anything about the film. They said yes. So that is how like we thought that like we are thinking about the budget, we are cautious about the money we are spending, so we will make the result. So that is how like we landed, and like we were clear, and that clarity helped us to complete that project, even though it was a big project for the team, because like we had to shoot the many sequences with a minimum of 400 to 1200 junior artists, like for many days. So it's like quite a tiring exercise, tiring work. By doing all that, like we finished that film, and like COVID happened and 2 year we lost. And when at that time, like we had two choices, like whether we should go to film festivals, and whether we should go in a very traditional way, theatrical release and OTT release and all these things. So like when you know that like going to film festival don't benefit you economically, definitely like for a newcomer, to get a space, to get to know the world, festivals helps. Like it gives you immense confidence, it gives you immense like close contact with the audience, but like it won't help you in any monetary level. So that is why like I decided that for Pada, like I'm not worried about any festival or anything. Like let's go with the theatrical release, and like we are almost late by 2 years right now. So that is how. And like I would add on few other things also. Before the theatrical release, like we had assured the OTT and satellite deals, so we were safe before going to the theater release. So like whether the film will be accepted in theater, that's again a kind of depends on many things. That is what like we come to know over our experience also. If there is huge rain during that 2 weeks, like the film will be a flop for sure. So all those things affect the film. Even the film is good, like it may not like recover the kind of money, or it may not bring the people to the theater for various reasons. So luckily we overcome all those things, and that is why like after making that big film also, I can sit at peace here and discuss the all the intricacies of the process also.
Okay, that's Not bad actually, because considering the theme of the film, it's got not quite common to have a good release and then getting good collection from theater. I mean, decent collection from the theater. That's another thing. So, anybody wants to ask a question at this stage, or we'll continue? No. Okay. What about your this? You were mentioning. I was about to ask, and you already mentioned, like you and your friends formed a. Many think it's a company, but you're saying it's a informal arrangement kind of thing. But still, this collective phase one is known for some of the breakthrough films in Malayalam, like Annain Rasoolum. Many films are there. Ida. So, Nyan Steve Lopez, yeah, beautiful film. So, how does it work? How's it? I mean, what's the arrangement? You find it like really productive that way, like forming a company. How does it company or platform, whatever way you.
So after ID became a huge success in IFFK, I would say. Like before coming to IFFK, I had traveled to, I would say, 5 film festivals, including we had world premiere in Busan. Then I traveled to Torino Film Festival, Nantes Film Festival in France, and Morocco, a festival in Italy. Then I came to IFFK, and we were very nervous. Like there was a certain kind of nervousness we had that I can't talk about. Like because when we saw the people crowding for our film, like we had a kind of shiver in our spine, and like we were waiting for the people to come back. And like I'm always nervous, and my cinematographer, who is Madhu Nilakand, who is like very bold always, looked too nervous that day. So I lost all my confidence. And when we saw the people coming out of the theater, like we were very happy. Like they crowded around Geetanjali Thapa, who was my protagonist actor in the film, and the kind of love they showered on her made us so happy. And two screenings went houseful, and the reaction was so good. So the collective phase one was introduced in IFFK, and many people after that approached us. So we want to join in collective phase one, and we also have some script. Then I told them, we told them that, like, look, a collective is something that we all form with our friends and fellow artists. So you can also make your collective. So it's, this is one collective. And like one thing we don't have is still money. We can't support any films, we can't produce any films. But like, if you need any other help, like over 2 3 films, like then we produced Nyan Steve Lopez, which was directed by Rajiv Ravi. Then we produced Ida, which was directed by B. Ajit Kumar. Then came Kammatipadam. And during Kammatipadam, we had set up a sound post production studio. So that much we could set up. So we used to tell all of them that whatever resources that we have gathered so far by making films as professionals in the industry, you can also use that. That is the only one thing that we can offer. In that sense, like we had helped many groups from different part of Kerala, and like even other parts of India also. Like I would say the recent film Ektara Collective from Bhopal is doing, like they are also working with us. So we had this kind of informal bonding with all kinds of film activist group in India. So, and we are happy that we could help many young groups in Kerala also, providing our studio space, or providing uh, many like I would say non monetary production support we had given.
Yeah. And also, your in an indirect way, you also touched upon the issue of, maybe looks silly, but in Kerala it's very much alive, like this art film versus commercial film discussion. And with a natural honesty, you touched upon the points like, you want to make a film in mainstream and show it to it in theaters and reach the mainstream audience, which will have a proper impact. So there, there is no point in, there is no confusion regarding, whether you want to be an art filmmaker or, you want to be a filmmaker in films within which are reaching theaters. And also there is no point. I find that quite interestingly, there are heated arguments in these platforms or the film festivals, like whether OTT is good or bad for. I mean, this yes or no discussions are there, and but you can't, because you are a beneficiary of uh, launching of OTTs, an early beneficiary of, while you're saying that, so that means OTTs have opened up. There are also many criticisms about OTT platforms. They're also looking at the star value, things like that. But at the same time, they're also opening up a space for different kinds of, filmmaking, which might, at the end of the day, be helpful to the filmmaking community, filmmakers. What's your take on that? Like,
So one thing I'm very clear from my college days, when I was appreciating all kinds of art films, uh, definitely all those films like you hold close to your heart. But like I never believed in this binary of art versus like mainstream or art versus commercial cinema, because being a Malayali film audience, I know that like in art films there are bad films, in mainstream films there are good films also. Like we have seen filmmakers like KG George or many filmmakers in that sense from that stream who have actually made many films which was meaningful films, at the same time made money in the theater also. So a film like Yavaniga is still running in YouTube, and like if you look at the viewership in YouTube, like whatever the pirated version which is uploaded there, like it's like immense number of people have watched the YouTube version of Yavaniga. So there are films which is made for a very what do you say, for a short span of time. There are films which made for timeless value. So that is what like I've always believed in, because art versus, because a good film will have its own aesthetics. So then what do you, how do you call something as an art film? It was always confusing to me, and later when I started watching world cinema, like I knew that like it's after all meaningful films that becomes relevant in any platform, whether it's in theater definitely it's a different dynamics. But anywhere else it's the films which has got some meaning has got a long run. So that is why like whenever I argue with people that like if you talk about like which is great, Bahubali or Pather Panjali, I would say Pather Panjali, because Bahubali, you say that like let's say 5 crore people have watched it like in 4 months time. Okay, Pather Panjali is being watched all over the world, so it might have crossed 5 crore viewership or anything like that. So for me it's the timeless so it's a the timeless value of that film that matters. And regarding OTT, yeah, so again OTT, once the OTT platform came to first came to the first world, US, Europe, and then it came to India. So in Europe also they had a certain kind of apprehension to OTT platforms. Even a film festival like Cannes didn't show films that being produced by OTT platform. Like they said no to OTT platforms. So all those things were there again. Like I always thought that like any new platform which is being created is good for the medium, because theater will exist, always it will exist, that is, there is no doubt about that. The kind of films being made for theatrical viewing may change at times, like sometimes, like even when you understand the scenario in one particular industry, Malayalam film industry itself, like you know that the trend is changing always. Like the people may go to very emotional realistic films at times, then because being that trend, there will be many other kind of films which will get in the same mode, then people will start denouncing those kind of films, then they will look for a different kind of films, so they will accept that. So all those kind of trends and tastes are there still. That is why, like, I always believe that theater spaces will always exist, and new viewing uh, platforms will be created. That is how I watch it. Like I see OTT platforms also. Like for me, I would say I have benefited from OTT coming to India, particularly when Netflix came in. They wanted to acquire Indian films because they wanted to present Indian films also when they were operating in India. So in that slot, uh, they actually gave importance to films that had made some kind of international presence. So that is why, like, ID also could get into that slot, because that is how, like, we also got a chance to show our film uh, in Netflix, so that, like, we could get some money also, like we could get good money also, so that, like, we could invest that money in our second project. So every platform helps the filmmaker, and every platform has its own dynamics also. Like OTT, they are presenting the viewers not only films but series, many different kinds of formats also they introduce. So it helps the filmmakers, because cinema also has got different forms, different styles. So every film has got its own video viewing platform also. That is what we realize, like when we see right now we have mainly three platforms. We have theater, we have OTT platform, we have satellite television platform. So in, like, earlier it was only satellite platform which helped the films, but like right now it's an additional platform that came in. That is why, like, it helps film industry, it helps filmmaker. But like when we romanticize viewing a film in a theater space, definitely we have to go to theater, and like and that audience will be there always. A new audience is being created for theater also. So when a certain section of the audience goes to from theater to when they shift to OTT, I think we don't have to worry about, because when they are shifting to OTT platform, there is a new audience being created for theater also, and most of the time they are the young crowd. So I always welcome all these platform, any platform that I would say to come to this medium and help the or push, because that is what, like, when OTT came in, that is one point. Like apart from all this, when OTT platform came in India, that is the moment when the censorship was getting very strict. Okay, so the filmmakers didn't have any choice to present bold subjects, because anyway you know that like if you make this film you are going to get annihilated in front of the censor board. So that is where like OTT also came in. You had the advantage that like you don't need censor certificate for the OTT release for any content, whether it's a series or a film. So that is how we could push or we could subvert the oppression we faced as filmmakers in the name of censorship. So in the initial days, OTT platform also helped us. And when they started talking or they started presenting bold subjects, again, the central government like uh, got hold of OTT platforms. What they did is the majoritarian party, like they started filing cases in different parts of India against the chief of the programs or head content in Amazon, sitting in Amazon and Netflix. That is how they also got afraid of all this system here. And now like after that, like after Patalok and all these debacle happened and more stricter rules come on OTT platform, they were looking for OTT the series script. I also submitted one script and they said okay, the script is good but it's too political, so let's not talk about this script. So again, like it is changing, but like we will find a new space. That is how I thought that like making a film like Pada may not be possible in any other part of India. Like because I was very sure that like the incident happened when the left ministry was ruling in Kerala. And it was against the leftist rule in Kerala. It was against the CPM ruling or like their legislation. So I thought that it's the correct time when the left is ruling here. I have to make this film, and if they are doing something against that film, then we will see that. Definitely, like it's a discourse, and like I would say that like our political scenario is getting more and more mature, little bit becoming better in terms of its democratic spirit. That is why like again another joke is about the censor screening of Pada. Pada, what happened is they gave me US certificate. So I was smiling. Then they explained to me why UA, because it's an anti-state film. Okay, then I was very happy. Okay, so it's like we are talking sense now. You are
Yeah,
talking what is there in your mind,
more
and
open
like
and
yeah. So that is
direct.
why we are giving you a US certificate, because this film should be watched with parental guidance.
Okay, I think it's time to open to the audience. Like, I think you gave out all the details, so that's why there are no questions. Yes, please, Mike.
Sir, I have question about Pada. Uh, Actually, in Tamil cinema, after 2010 only, it began to talk about the stories of downtrodden. And in Malayalam cinema, it has taken, I think there is a long history of Malayalam cinema taking the topic of downtrodden and the Dalit community. And the films like the Pada, which talks about this such kind of narratives. So what I would know about this, after the films of Ranjit, in Tamil cinema they have made a bunch of films, particularly focusing on the stories of the untold. And now in Malayalam cinema it started. Can I take that Pada is one of the such kind of narrative? We can take it to another kind of filming or a kind of telling stories of the untold people. I just want to know about that.
Yeah. In Malayalam, or in I would say in the so-called parallel films in India, they have always talked about the downtrodden, but caste was not talked about everywhere. Like it's not just in Hindi cinema. It was a progressive society like Kerala always uh, uh, always like kept away or kept a distance from this basic question. And definitely from Tamil cinema and Marathi cinema, uh, young filmmakers came with this question, like Nagaraj Manjule, Paranjit, and many filmmakers like that. They started putting this question in the foreground. That is where like film film industry started talking about this issue, and that is where like we all realized that like how conveniently we were keeping aside this dominant issue that plagues our society. Because like if you look at the films, all kinds of films in Malayalam in particular, like all the protagonists were or like will be from the upper caste society. And or if they are not, if their caste is not mentioned, like they will be featured, their house, everything, their attire, their culture inside that house, everything will be uh, pointing towards that like it's an upper caste house. So that's how always cinema existed in Malayalam or anywhere. So when, like I would say, it is become it is with the rise of Ambedkarite politics in India, uh, all these questions started being asked in film industry also. So that is how like people could take a stand to talk about this hidden areas of or the far marginalized people. Because in a society like when you go inside, like there are invisible communities that exist, so we never talk about that. So that is how like we could push, the films could push. Because again, like if you suppose, if I am a writer, if I have a script which talks about the downtrodden, like if I take it to a producer, what they will say is like, no, but like then there is no glamour, there is no culture that we can like feature along with the life that we portray in a film. Because everybody has got this prejudice that like lower caste life or an Adivasi life is a life without culture, because we don't see their culture, because they have got thousands years of culture like in different fashions which we try to change, which we made obsolete in the name of modernization. So we ask them to forget their language, we ask them to forget about their knowledge, we ask them to forget about their livelihood. Then we actually displaced them to a one room kitchen kind of spaces from for us. Like as part of the research for my film Pada, I have visited different areas, Adivasi areas also, to just to see what's the current scenario, because I am talking about a story that happened 25 years back, and what is the current scenario. So for that, like I traveled, and it's the same. The government might have made a small hamlet like concrete hut, and they will ask the Adivasi to live inside that jail like closed space. And we pretend as the system, or as we the people who rule them are very generous, we are giving you free home. So then we will, because and I started this age old blame again and again. So these people, they don't understand. They don't love to live in better environment. They still want to sleep outside. You know, sir, we have made a film. We made a house. So many houses. They don't sleep inside that houses. They sleep outside. Obviously, of course, they will sleep outside because they are a different people with a different culture. The kind of freedom they have uh, in their life and in their mind is different than us. So there is a difference in terms of culture. So we don't understand all these things. So slowly we, as a society, because of the Ambedkarite politics gathering support all across India, the kind of arguments, the kind of discourse we put forward in the areas of academics, in the areas of other fields of art, and like I would say, cinema should be, or cinema is the last medium that accepts the truth, I would say. That is why we are like lagging behind so many years in terms of addressing the caste issue of India, like adapting into screenplays, making into a film. So I think there is a change right now, and that is what we see in Tamil cinema, in Marathi cinema, and slowly in Malayalam cinema. Like Malayalam cinema hasn't opened up yet. I won't say that like it's still in that clutches of that upper caste sensibility, I would say, but like it's still opening up, and we will see a better tomorrow. That's what I believe.
Thank you, Kamal.
So one thing I'll add, sir,
Okay.
even
So
though many
trying to.
films has been made with the progressive political ideologies of like Periyar, Ambedkar, and Bhule, these films has been claimed by many people who are being shown in the film. They claim that that particular film is for them. I mean, that particular film is addressing them. So does that film has been taken into a casteist element? Because, for example, if any film, for like in Tamil, we can take Pariyarum Perumal. That film is showcasing a story of a particular community in South Tamil Nadu, and they claim that that's a film for them, and that makes some sort of clashes in the south belt of Tamil Nadu. So, if a film, even though the filmmaker has the intention of making the film in a progressive way with an anti-caste approach, but the film has been taken into in a sense of like a casteist background. So, what is your take on that? If
Sorry, sorry. It was, what was the difference in the previous question and this one? I didn't get it.
so, first question.
Sorry.
What you try?
Sir, first question I ask about the Pada. Can I take Pada as a the film which can
Yeah.
take it another level of filmmaking to the stories which talks about the narratives of the downtrodden people?
Definitely, that is what like film is for the entire society. Like we present, like when we make a film, it's for the entire society. So, like when we talk about a particular community or a particular issue, like we are trying to uh, enter into everyone's mind. We want to sensitize the entire world. So that is what like we do with every film. That is what like every filmmaker is doing to reform the aesthetical and ethical consciousness of society.
Okay. Thank you, Kamal, for spending time with us. Thank you.
Thank you everyone. Yeah.